going to edit it through the Properties tab because it's a little faster than editing it interactively. So we're going to adjust the position to 0.007 meters in the x-axis. We're going to make this negative 0.204 meters in the y-axis, and we're going to make it 0.01 meters in the z-axis. And we're going to rotate it 332 degrees about the x-axis. And now we can't see the image because it's on transparent. So we need to go to the image tab and we're going to make transparency factor 0. Or we can click show. And there's the ring wrap. And we're going to click OK. So we're going to add one more wrapping object. So click on this again. Click on wrapping object and we're going to attach it to the humerus. And this one is going to be called a sphere wrap. And we're going to click finish. Double click on it again, and I'm going to edit it through the properties window because it's faster. We're going to make it a sphere, and I'm going to make the radius 0.02 meters, change the position to 0.007 in the x direction, and we're going to change it to negative 0.004 meters in the y direction, and we're going to leave this at 0, and we're going to leave these at 0 as well. And we're going to go to image and show the object. And we're going to click OK. So now we're going to add the muscles. So we're going to click on model, add component, and a muscle is under the actuator. So we're going to open the actuator tab and we're going to click muscle. And we're going to attach it to the humerus for the parent and the ulna for the insertion segment. And we're going to name this the elbow extensor. And we're going to click finish. So this is the muscle that we just created. Now we want to edit it so that it's utilizing the wrapping objects as constraint points. So we're going to double click on the elbow extensor and we're going to go to the muscle path and we're going to edit this as follows. Well, first we're going to add a row because we want it to attach from the humerus, go around the wrapping object, and fix itself on the ulna. For the first point, we're going to make it negative 0.008. And for the y, we're going to say negative 0.1178. And the z is going to be negative 0.00045. And this is going to be attached to the humerus. And for the next part, we want it to wrap around the wrapping object. So we're going to say wrap. So a new window pops up. It's called the wrapping object selection. And we can either create a new wrapping object or we can drop down the menu and we can select which wrapping object we want it to wrap around. So we're going to select the extensor wrap and we're going to click OK. And notice that all of the points in the X, Y, and Z positions are automatically updated. And now we're going to go to the fixed object, and that's going to be negative 0.0045 about the x-axis. And we're going to make it negative 0.076 about the y-axis and 0.04 about the z-axis. And now we're going to go to the morphometry tab. And we're going to edit this to 20 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 26, and we're going to make this 50 grams. And we're going to say OK. So we can see in the 3D window that the elbow extensor was attached to the humerus, wrapped around the extensor wrap, and attached to the ulna. So now we're going to add another wrapping object. Let's zoom out on this image. And we're going to select this plus M, and it says add muscle when we hover over it. So this is another method of adding muscles. So we're going to click on it, and in the 3D window, we can see that we have this big plus sign. So what we do is we're going to click it on the humerus, and we're going to drag it to the ulna. Okay. And when we release the cursor, it opens up this new window where we can modify and adjust the muscle. But instead of editing it, we're going to go back to the 3D window and select the muscle. When we click on it, it creates a new constraint point, and we can drag this constraint point to the respective position that we want it to be in. So we can keep doing this until we have the muscle in the shape that we want it to resemble. We want it to wrap around this object. We want it to go down here. And we want it to wrap around the ring. We're going to have another constraint point right here. Now we have the muscle that we just created in the position that we generally want it to be in. And even though it's not in the exact position that we want it to be in, what we did was create constraint points in the muscle itself. So if we go over to the Model Explorer panel, and if we double click the muscle that we just created and go to Muscle Path, we can see that we created the fixed points. Each of these blue dots are fixed constraint points for the muscle. But we're missing 2 of them right now, so we're just going to add 2 more rows. And we're going to adjust the X, Y, and Z positions of each point so that it's in the correct position that we want it to be in. So for the first constraint point, the X position is going to be 0, Y is going to be 0.04, and Z is 0. So the second constraint point is going to be a wrapping object. So we're going to drop down on the type menu, and we're going to select wrap, in which the muscle will wrap around. But we want to wrap it around an existing wrapping object. So we're going to click on this drop down menu, and we're going to select the sphere wrap. And we're going to click OK. And for it to stay, we're going to click the edit button and make sure that the sphere wrap is in its correct position, and we're going to click OK. So the third point is going to be a fixed point, and it's going to be 0.02 in the x-axis, negative 0.08, and 0. And we're going to leave the segment on humerus. The fourth constraint point is going to be another wrapping object, and we're going to select the flexor wrap. And we're going to click OK and edit, make sure it's correct, click OK. And for the fifth point, it's going to be another fixed position, and it's going to be 0.075 for the X position, negative 0.19 in the Y, and negative 0.011 in the Z. And the segment is going to be humerus. The sixth constraint point is going to be another wrapping object, and this is going to be a ring wrap. Select edit, make sure it's correct. OK. And the seventh point is going to be another fixed point, and it's going to be 0.03, negative 0.27, and negative 0.0012. And make sure that the segment is humorous. And the eighth constraint point is going to be a moving object. And for this one, we're going to make sure that the segment is ulna, and we're going to type in the position that we want it to be in. So for the X position, we want 0.02667. For the Y, we want negative 0.1. And for the Z, we want 0.02. And we're going to click Edit. So for the moving constraint point, it's very important that we click the Edit button and change the values for the X, Y, and Z positions, because as you see, it's all 0 right now. And if we just click OK and apply, all the values that we just inputted will turn back to 0. So we need to input the values for the X, Y, and Z positions. So for the first one, we're going to select elbow, and the value is going to be 0.02. The max value is going to be 0.04. We're going to select the elbow again, and it's going to be negative 0.1, negative 0.1, and we're going to select elbow, and it's going to be 0.02, and the max is also 0.02, and we're going to click OK. So for the ninth constraint point, it's going to be a type fixed, and we're going to edit it to 0.008 in the X direction, negative 0.2 in the Y, and 0.06 in the Z direction. And make sure the segment is ulna. And now we're going to click Apply. So in the 3D window, we can see that the muscle is adjusted to its right position, and it's a lot smoother than it was before. So now we're going to go back to the properties for the muscle. We're going to click on the morphometry, and we're going to change it to 52 centimeters for the fascial length, 7 centimeters for the optimal tendon length, 65 centimeters for the max length, and leave it at 100 grams. And we're going to go to the fiber types and make sure you check both of these features. And we're going to scroll down and adjust these to 2.5. And now we're going to go back to the General tab and name this muscle elbow flexor. And we're going to click OK. So now we just completed the model with complex muscle path. We have the segments with specific images, we have the wrapping objects, and we have the muscle. So now we want to save this new model. So we're going to go to File, Save As, and we're going to Browse, and we're going to go to the Tutorials folder and go to the Tutorial 3, Building a Model with Complex Muscle Path. We're going to save the model in this folder, and let's just save it as model. Select, and we're going to check this button and click OK. So now we just completed this model, and just to make sure that it's there, we're going to close it. We already saved it, so we can click No. We can open, and we're going to open the model. And this is the model that we just created. So this concludes tutorial 3, Building a Model with Complex Muscle Path.